Good morning, dear students. Today I will be starting the 10th standard 5th chapter, periodic classification of elements. I am going to start the new chapter, periodic classification of elements. In this chapter we are going to study about how the elements are grouped. Okay, how the elements are grouped based on their properties, and how it is done. Okay, how the scientists found the new methods, and how they discovered the new elements, and what are the properties they found. So we will be studying about all these things in this chapter. As we have studied in the previous class, we know that the matter around us exist in the form of elements, compounds and mixtures. And elements are the pure substance. They contain only one type of atom in it. Okay, they contain only one type of matter in it. So element is different from the compound and that of mixtures. The scientists have discovered that in the present era we can find there are almost 118 elements are present. So there are 118 elements are known to us. These are discovered by the scientists. And out of these 118 elements, okay, only 98 are exist in nature. The remaining 20 are obtained as the byproduct of chemical reactions. Okay, the scientists found 118 elements. These 118 elements have their own different properties. They have their own properties. So the scientists found 118. Out of that, 98 exist in nature and the remaining are obtained as a byproduct of some chemical reactions. So this 118 elements, this is not such a small number. It is difficult to group these numbers. Okay, difficult to keep in mind, difficult to remember about these elements. So we have to for our understanding, for our understanding, okay, to get see, if you take any things, okay, if you you will go to market and you will buy many things. Okay, almost consider you buy 20 things. Okay, 20 materials. So if you keep it in the plastic, it is difficult to search, difficult to find out whenever you require. So if you place them in a particular place based on the property, if you place them in the kitchen, if you arrange it in order, and if you remember, so this object is here only, and it is kept here, so next time it will be easy to find. So it consumes your time. It is easy to get that material whenever it require. So that for our understanding, these 118 elements, the scientists found different methods to group them into different groups. In order to group them based on their properties and patterns. So they discovered new methods. So now let us discuss how these new inventions, new discoveries came into exist one by one, and how this development takes place in the classification of elements in the periodic table. Now let us discuss in detail. Okay, first let me discuss about making order out of chaos, early attempts at the classification of elements. Okay, how the earlier in the beginning, how they try to classify these elements. Making order out of chaos means what? The disorder. It is a mixture. Okay, clumsy way. So disorderness in the elements. So the chaos means the disorderliness of the elements. So making order out of the chaos, early attempts at the classification of elements. So early attempts, as I said, they how we arrange any objects, okay. If we have any uh, as I gave the example, if there is any kitchen items, okay, different uh, kitchen materials, if it is there, different ingredients is there, okay, we will arrange in different box, okay, we will arrange them in different group. So like that they use that concept here also. So they first they try to group them. First they try to group them which are known elements, okay. First they group them into different groups. They collected the known elements and they first they did the groupings. What are the groups? They did two groups. One is metal and another one is non-metals. They did two groups. One is metal and another one is non-metal. So they collected the known elements and they grouped them into two groups. One is metals, another one is non-metal. Later, as per their knowledge, as per their increased level of knowledge, as per their by finding the new properties of the elements, they did so many assumption discoveries, and they did their own groups, okay. They did their own tables. So based on their level of understanding, they classify the elements. So let us discuss one by one, okay. The first invention was done by this German chemist in 1987, Johann Wolfgang Dobereiner, okay. He is a German chemist. He tried to arrange these elements into groups, okay, based on the certain properties, based on the similar properties between the elements. And he tried and he found that in the group the three elements are having the similar properties, and those three elements in the group, those three elements he called it as triads. So what is triads? Triads are the elements in the group. These are the three elements in the group which have the similar properties. So that group of elements is known as triads. He found a few triads in the group of elements. And what he did, he arranged the elements in the he found the triads and he arranged those he did the groups. He arranged the elements in the increasing atomic masses, for example. And he found that the atomic masses, he wrote the atomic masses of these triads in the increasing order of atomic mass. And he found that the atomic mass of the middle element is the average of the atomic mass of the middle element is the average of the first and the last one. So let us consider the atomic mass of lithium is 6.9 and the atomic mass of potassium is 39.0. So what is the average of it? 6 plus 9 is equal to the atomic mass of the middlemost element in the triads is the average of the remaining. So the atomic mass of lithium is 6.9 and the atomic mass of potassium is 39.0. And if you find the average, how to find? You have to add these two, 6.9 plus 39.0. When you add, you will get 45.9. And 45.9 divided by 2 is equal to 2 ones are 2, 22.9. So 22.9, it is almost equal to 23. So he found that whenever there is a triads, the atomic mass of the middlemost element is the average of the remaining two. And in this picture, Okay, in the table given below, some groups of 3 elements you can see. So they are arranged in the downwards in the order of increasing atomic masses. So can you find the Dobereiner triads in this? So let me check whether it is a Dobereiner triads. I will take these elements, okay, nitrogen, phosphorus and arsenic. So let us check, okay, 14.0 plus 74.9. What is the total? Total is 88.9. So when you divide it by 2, the average, when you take the average, what do you get? 44.45. Okay, so this 44.45 is not equal to the atomic mass of phosphorus. Got it? So 44.45 is not equal to the atomic mass of phosphorus. So it is this group A element does not are not the Dobereiner triads. Group A elements are not the Dobereiner triads because there is no matching of these. Okay, we didn't get the result what we are expected. So the atomic mass of the phosphorus is not equal to the average of these two atomic masses. So it is not the group A elements are not the Dobereiner triads. Got it? Now let us check for the group B elements. The group B elements are calcium, strontium and barium. Let us check whether they are the Dobereiner triads. So the atomic mass of calcium is 40.1 and the atomic mass of barium is 137.3. So let us take the average of this. Let us take the average. So what do you get? That is equal to average of this 40.1 and 137.4 is 88.7. So this 88.7 is almost equal to 87.6. So these group B elements are the Dobereiner triads because the average you got, how much? Average is equal to the atomic mass of the middle element, that is strontium. Average of these two, average of calcium and barium is equal to the atomic mass of the strontium. So these are the Dobereiner triads. Next let us check for the group C elements. Okay, group C elements are chlorine, bromine and iodine. Chlorine atomic mass is 35.5 and the bromine atomic mass is 79.9 and the iodine atomic mass is 126.9. So let us check for the applicable of the Dobereiner triads. So 35.5 plus 126.9 is equal to how much? So 162.4. So 162.4 divided by 2. When you do, how much you will get? 81.2. So 81.2 is you got. The average of calcium and bromine, the average of calcium and iodine atomic mass is 81.2. 81.2 is nearly equal to, is almost equal to 79.9. Got it? 79.9. You can it is almost equal to 80, right? So this is 81.2. So the average atomic mass of these two is equal to the atomic mass of the bromine. So this is also a group C elements, also Dauber-Reiner triads. Only group A elements does not belongs to the Dauber-Reiner triads. So how many groups we got? How many Dauber-Reiner triads we got? By calculating, by using that Dauber-Reiner triad rule, we found that by calculating we got these three set of Dauber-Reiner triads. So the first set is lithium, sodium and potassium. Then second set is group B elements, calcium, strontium and barium. Then group C elements, chlorine, bromine and iodine. These are the set of Dauber-Reiner triads. So these Dauber-Reiner triads only applicable for these three groups. So this invention, this attempt, this classification of elements was failed due to this reason. It is only applicable for the few elements. So it is not applicable. It is not explained about the properties of other elements. So this attempt of classification was failed. Now let us discuss about Newland's law of octaves. The attempts of Dauber-Reiner encouraged other chemists to correlate the properties of elements with their atomic masses. So after the Dauber-Reiner, other scientists did so many attempts to correlate the properties of elements with their atomic masses. So they learned, they tried to invent the correlation between the properties of the elements with their atomic masses. So in 1866, John Newlands, an English scientist, arranged the known elements in the order of increasing atomic masses. So what he did, he arranged the known elements in the order of increased atomic masses. So he started with the element having the lowest atomic mass, that is hydrogen. He started with the element which is having the lowest atomic mass with hydrogen and ended at the thorium, which was the 56th element. So in his table, okay, in his classification, he found 56 elements. Okay, the Newland also tried to correlate the elements, okay, with the atomic properties. He tried to correlate the elements to make the classification by using the atomic masses of the elements. So he started with the element hydrogen. He started with the lighter element, which is hydrogen, and ended at the thorium. Thorium is the 56th element, which is a little heavier element. So he found he compared the classification of the group. He compared the classification of the elements into the octaves found in the music. You can see octaves found in the music. In Indian music, we can see these octaves: sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, like that. In the Western countries, the music octaves are these: do, re, mi, fa, so, la, and ti. So these he compared the classification of the elements to the octaves of the music. So he called this group as a, since he compared this to the law of octave, he called it as a law of octaves, and it is also known as Newland's law of octaves or Newland's octaves. So this group table representing the Newland's octaves. So it have the elements, it starts with the lighter element, that is hydrogen, and it ends up with the thorium, which is a heavier element. And here you can see, okay, in the classification, the first and the eighth one, resembles the same property. Here lithium, and lithium is the first one. If you take it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, lithium and sodium have resembles the similar properties. So that he observed in this group, in the classification. And barium and magnesium have the first and the eighth one have the similar properties. So that is why it is known as Newland's octaves, because the first and the eighth one resembles the similar property. How in the music, after the end of the seventh, it again repeats the eighth one, like that here also they repeats the similar properties. So this table shows the Newland's octaves. And this Newland's octave have few limitations. Okay, they have some drawbacks. What are the drawbacks? It is found that after calcium, after every eighth element does not possess the similar properties of the like the first one. Okay, here you can see lithium and sodium, first and eighth one have the similar property. Magnesium and barium, first and second one have the a similar property. But after calcium, the first and the every eighth element does not possess the similar properties, so it is failed to explain it. They have the different properties. So for the heavier element, this Newland's octaves does not suit, so it failed to explain all these things. And Newland assumed that there are only 56 elements exist in the nature. There are only 56 elements exist in the nature, and no more elements may exist in future. So no more elements will be discovered in the future. So after that, what happened? Several discoveries, several inventions have discovered different few elements, and that new elements does not fit into this Newland's octaves. So it failed to explain all those properties of the new elements. So it is not suitable for the heavier elements. So it is failed to explain about it. Okay, in order to fit all those elements, whatever he got, in order to fit all these elements into his table, what he did, he took two elements and placed in the one slot only. See, here you can see the cobalt and the nickel is placed in the one slot, and here krypton and zircon are placed in the same slot. So in order to fit all these elements, whatever he got into the Newland's octaves, he took two elements and placed in the one slot. And these elements do not have the similar properties. They have the unlike properties of compared to the remaining elements. See, if you take the example of cobalt and nickel have the different properties than these hydrogen, fluorine and chlorine. Hydrogen, fluorine and chlorine have the different property unlike this cobalt and nickel. And you can observe that cobalt and nickel have the similar property like the ferrous, okay, like the iron. Okay, cobalt and nickel have the similar properties as that of iron, but he placed them in the different slots. So there he did somewhere mistakes. So that is the one more drawback of his Newland's octaves. So from this we can conclude that this Newland octaves is applicable only to explain the properties of the lighter elements. It failed to explain the properties of the heavier elements. So this assumption, this Newland's octaves failed to classify the elements in the proper order. Okay, when the Newland's octaves fail to group the elements, fail to classify the elements, So many scientists tried the new methods. They searched for making the groups of these elements. So they search for the different ways to correlate the properties of the atomic mass of the elements. So finally, the credit goes to the classification of the elements in the periodic table. This goes to the great Russian chemist Dmitry Ivanovich Mendeleev. Okay, Dmitry Mendeleev found the method. He arranged the elements and he classified the elements, which become the important factor, which become the important task in the a development of the new periodic table. So all the credit goes in the preparation of this periodic table goes to this scientist, the Russian chemist, that is Dmitry Mendeleev. What he did, he used all the properties of the elements, and he used the atomic masses of the elements and all the chemical and physical properties of the elements. Then he checked the similarity between the chemical properties of the elements. He gave more importance to see the similarities in the chemical properties of the elements. So when he started his work of classification of these elements, he found 63 elements. Okay, he concentrated on the atomic mass, physical and chemical properties of the elements, and he tried to relate this atomic mass with the physical and chemical properties of the elements. And he mainly concentrated on the elements which are formed in the reaction of hydrogen and oxygen. So because this hydrogen and oxygen are very reactive, and most of the compounds are formed because of these elements. Most of the compounds are formed because of hydrogen and oxygen. So he considered hydrogen and oxygen as the most reactive element, and he classified them into two groups based on hydrides and compounds producing the hydrides and oxides. He made it into two groups. One is hydrides and another one is oxides. Got it? And what he did, he prepared 63 cards, and in each of the card he wrote each element name and its properties, all the all the chemical and physical properties, and pinned it in the wall in the increasing order. So he prepared the 63 cards by writing all the properties of the element, and he arranged the elements in the increasing order based on the physical and chemical properties. And he found that most of the elements are fit in his periodic table. And he observed that there he found the periodic recurrence of the some chemical and physical properties of the elements. He observed the periodic recurrence of the some physical and chemical properties of the elements. Okay, by observing the recurrence of the some properties of the element, he stated the periodic law. It states that the properties of the elements are the periodic functions of their atomic masses. The properties of the elements are the periodic functions of their atomic masses. So this statement was given by Mendeleev. So this is the periodic law. And in the Mendeleev's periodic table, we can see and if you see the periodic table, you can see the name the vertical column as a groups: group 1, group 2, group 3, like that. Okay, group 4. So these are the vertical columns are the groups, and the horizontal rows are known as the periods. So horizontal rows are known as the periods, and vertical columns are known as the groups. So you can see the groups and periods in the periodic table. Got it? And if you see the periodic table, he left a few gaps in the table. So what he did, in order to replace that gap, he boldly said, he predicted that there are some more elements has to be filled by this periodic table. He predicted that there are some more elements that has to be discovered later. So what he did, he boldly, what he did, he named it as Eka aluminium and Eka boron, like that. Okay. So in order to replace that gap, he predicted that still more has to be discovered, still more elements has to be filled by this periodic table. So he he called those new existing elements as, he predicted those elements as Eka aluminium, Eka boron and Eka boron, like that. So he predicted those elements as Eka boron, Eka aluminum and Eka silicon. So these have the Eka Eka is a Sanskrit word which means one. Okay. Eka means one. So Eka boron, Eka aluminum and Eka silicon. And these they have these elements are found later in the later year. So they are nothing but they are scandium and gallium and then germanium. These are discovered in the later existence of the these are discovered later. Okay. Before founding these elements, he gave the names. He predicted that these elements are existed, these elements are there in the nature. So there are some elements have left. So they are that he named it as Eka boron, and it is later found and it is named as scandium. Then Eka aluminum, named it as gallium. Then Eka silicon, named it as germanium. And these have the similar properties. So let us learn about one element, that is Eka aluminum and Eka aluminum, that is gallium. Okay, one example is given in your textbook, properties of this Eka aluminum and gallium. Eka aluminum is nothing but it is a predicted element by the Mendeleev, and gallium is the discovered element in the later years. So property, atomic mass of the Eka aluminum was predicted around 68. Gallium atomic mass is 69.7. Then formula of oxide is E2O3. The formula of oxide of gallium is Ga2O3. Ga2O3 is the formula of oxide of this gallium. Then formula of chloride. Eka aluminum is ECl3 and the gallium chloride is GaCl3. So this is the Eka aluminum chloride, that is ECl3. Gallium chloride is GaCl3. So you can see the similarities. What he was predicted and what was existed. Got it? Okay, the evidence of this correctness and the usefulness of this Mendeleev's periodic table helped in the discovery of this modern periodic table. Okay, this gave the evidence for the correctness and the usefulness of the periodic table. So he considered as the most important. So all the scientists recognized his work and his periodic table. They considered this as the most correct, most prominent periodic table in the later era. The concept of noble gases such as helium, neon, argon, krypton, so these are discovered later, but it was mentioned in that period only. It was mentioned in in different concept in that time. And what happened in the success of this Mendeleev's periodic table, that this periodic table helped to group them into separately. Okay, that periodic table gave the separate place to make it as a different group. So without disturbing the existing one, it gave the separate group for the these inert gases. They find it difficult to discover these inert gas because the inert gases are very rare and the concentration of the inert gases is very less. That is why they find it difficult to get the element of these inert gases. And this periodic table was a success. Without disturbing the existing one, it gave the separate place to the inert gases. So these are the achievements of this Mendeleev's periodic table. Okay, now let us discuss about the limitations of Mendeleev's classification. Mendeleev's classification also have few limitations. Limitations means he was not clear with some concept. The electronic configuration of these compounds of hydrogen resembles the compounds of sodium. That is the one drawback. The compounds of the electronic configuration of this hydrogen, the electronic configuration of compounds having hydrogen resembles the compounds having sodium. So this is one drawback. Sodium HCl, this configuration is similar to sodium chloride. And water and Na2O, sodium oxide. So there is similarity in the electronic configuration of compounds of hydrogen and compounds of sodium. That is one drawback. Another one, like the alkali metals, the hydrogen also combines with chlorine, oxygen and sulfur, and gives the compounds which is similar to those of alkali metals. Like the alkali metals, the hydrogen also combines with the halogen, oxygen and sulfur. It provides a compound which is similar to that of compounds of sodium. So that is another drawback of his classification. The limitations of Mendeleev's classification are as follows. The first one is he find it difficult to fix the position of hydrogen. So he was confused with the hydrogen, whether because it showing the properties similar to the halogens and similar to the properties of sodium, and again it exists as a diatomic molecules like that. So he was confused with the hydrogen atom. So that was his first limitation. So that was the first limitation of his classification. And then later isotopes were discovered long after Mendeleev had proposed his periodic classification of elements. So what is isotopes? Isotopes are nothing but which have the these are the elements have the similar isotopes are have the similar chemical properties but different atomic masses. Isotopes are the elements which have similar chemical properties but different atomic masses. So scientists were confused with these isotopes, where to place these isotopes in the Mendeleev's periodic table, Mendeleev's periodic law. So that poses the challenge to Mendeleev's periodic law. Because Mendeleev's periodic law states that the properties of elements are the periodic functions of their atomic masses. The properties of the elements are the periodic functions of their atomic masses. But here what happens, the element is two elements have the same chemical properties, but they have the different atomic masses. So how to predict that element, how to place these isotopes. So that posed the challenge on Mendeleev's periodic law. And another limitation of his classification is atomic masses do not increase in a regular manner in the going from one element to the another problem. Another problem in the Mendeleev's classification is between two elements there is no fixed difference you can find. Okay, the difference between the two atomic masses of two elements vary. So there is no fixed difference in atomic masses between the two elements. So it was not possible to predict how many elements could be discovered between two elements. So when we consider the heavier elements, this is the major problem. So these are the drawbacks of Mendeleev's classification.
Hey everyone! As you know, in the mid-19th century, scientists of the world were struggling to classify elements. De Bruyn's triads had failed, and Newland's law of octaves was also not able to satisfactorily classify all known elements of that time. After a few years, somewhere in the eastern part of the world, a Russian chemist proposed a scientific marvel that became a milestone in the history of classification. Do you know whom am I referring to? I am talking about Dmitry Ivanovich Mendeleev. Let's see what Mendeleev achieved. At the time Mendeleev started his work, there were 63 known elements. He reacted each element with hydrogen and oxygen to form compounds. But why only hydrogen and oxygen? Well, he chose these gases as they react with most elements. Upon reaction, he figured that some elements and their compounds shared similar properties. For instance, lithium and sodium. He observed that both these elements were soft and shiny. Both lithium and sodium formed oxide on reaction with oxygen. They both also reacted with water to produce hydroxides. Because of these similar properties, lithium and sodium were grouped together. Mendeleev placed such groups of elements in a table. Inside the group, he arranged them in order of increasing atomic mass. He observed that elements in the same group appeared after a fixed number of elements. Like over here, sodium is placed below lithium after a gap of 6 elements. In the same way, potassium appears below sodium once again after a gap of 6 elements. Not only this, he also noticed that while doing so, elements were automatically getting arranged in an order of increasing atomic masses. For example, the atomic mass of carbon is 12, while that of nitrogen is 14.01 and oxygen is 15.99. This repeating pattern of chemical properties when elements are arranged in order of atomic masses is periodic or recurring event, much like a pendulum that oscillates at regular intervals. Hence, Mendeleev framed a law according to which properties of elements are periodic functions of their atomic masses. Due to this periodic nature of chemical properties, he called his table the periodic table of elements. Isn't that cool? Now let us have a look at the design of Mendeleev's periodic table. Can you see these vertical columns? They were called groups. Groups held elements with similar properties. These horizontal rows, on the other hand, were called periods. Here the elements can be seen arranged in a regular increasing order of atomic masses. Now, do you observe anything peculiar? Yes, you're right. There are some gaps in the table. Mendeleev was a genius. He had anticipated that more elements would be discovered in the near future. He thus left gaps in the periodic table for such elements and also went on to predict their properties. He named these elements Eka boron, Eka aluminium, and Eka silicon. Each of these future elements would resemble the ones placed above them in the table. Today, Eka boron is an element called scandium, Eka aluminium is gallium, and Eka silicon is germanium. If we compare the atomic masses of gallium with that of Eka aluminium, we can clearly see how accurate it was. Now let's get back to the table. Do you remember noble gases? Yes, they were those wicked elements that completely disturbed Newland's octave. You will be surprised to know that even at Mendeleev's time, these gases weren't discovered. Therefore, you do not see them here. But the beauty of Mendeleev's periodic table is that once noble gases were discovered, they could be accommodated in it without disturbing the existing order of elements. Truly marvelous. Is there anything else in the table that seems strange? I'll give you a clue. Try looking at the atomic masses of elements. Can you see some places where a heavier element comes before a lighter element? Yes, right? This did happen. But do you know why? Because Mendeleev wanted to ensure that elements with similar chemical properties always stayed together, since this was the basis of his classification. Disturbing these positions would mean disrupting the grouping of the elements. So, leaving gaps in the periodic table for yet to be discovered elements, provision to accommodate yet to be discovered noble gases, and ensuring that elements with similar properties stayed together. These became the strengths of Mendeleev's periodic table. Let's have a look at some limitations now. Between any two consecutive elements, the mass difference was not fixed and it varied a lot. For instance, let's take the elements cadmium and tin. Their atomic masses differ by 6 units. Indium is present in between them. On the other hand, elements antimony and tellurium also differ by a mass of 6 units, but there is no element in between them. So between any two consecutive elements, the mass difference was not fixed. This made it impossible to predict exactly how many elements could exist between two successive elements. Secondly, isotopes were discovered a long time after Mendeleev's proposal of his periodic table. They have same atomic number but different atomic masses. And since their masses differ only by small amounts, it was not possible to place them in the same group despite having similar chemical nature. So this too became a limitation in Mendeleev's table. And the last limitation is the position of hydrogen. On one hand, hydrogen forms compounds like HCl, which resemble compounds like NaCl formed by alkali metals. On the other hand, hydrogen resembles halogens, since both exist as diatomic molecules. They also form similar kinds of covalent compounds. So where should we place hydrogen? With alkali metals or with halogens? This question was tough to crack. So, inability to predict the number of elements between two successive elements, inability to place yet to be discovered isotopes in the table, and position of hydrogen became the limitation of Mendeleev's periodic classification. Despite the limitations, Mendeleev's periodic table was the first successful classification of its time. So, was there something other than Mendeleev's periodic table that was coming up? Is there really a better way of classifying elements? We will solve that mystery together very soon. But for now, let's recap what we've learned. Russian chemist Dmitry Mendeleev arranged elements on the basis of similar chemical properties. He focused on how various elements form hydrides and oxides. Mendeleev's periodic law states that properties of elements are periodic functions of their atomic masses. Achievements of Mendeleev's periodic table are leaving gaps in the periodic table for yet to be discovered elements, provision to accommodate yet to be discovered noble gases, and ensuring that elements with similar properties stay together. Limitations: inability to predict the number of elements between two successive elements, inability to place yet to be discovered isotopes in the table, and position of hydrogen. Hope you have enjoyed this session. I'll see you in the next video.
Okay, dear students, in this chapter we have discussed about how the milestones, what are the steps taken to prepare the modern periodic table. Okay, I have not discussed about what is modern periodic table. That we are discussing in the next class. So in this chapter, in today's class, we have discussed about in the beginning how the classification of elements began with a new invention, new discoveries by different scientists. So we have discussed about the classification by the Dobereiner, and then the classification of the elements by the Newland's octaves, then the classification by the great scientist, Mendeleev's. So these are the major steps taken in the preparation of the modern periodic table. So that helped these scientists' work helped in the preparation of the modern periodic table. Okay, we will discuss about these things in the next class. Let us learn about more. Let us learn more about how the classification of elements taken place and what are the speciality of this modern periodic table. We will learn about it in the next class. Thank you, students.